Mr. Stivers, and this is the first of many episodes to come, but it's a series that I'm doing called Coffee with Crosby and Musicians. So being a band class and being the fact that we are NTI, meaning non-face-to-face, I'm trying to think of different things, creative things, where we can engage our community, more specifically musicians, to speak to their journey about your age and what has brought them to where they are today. So a lot of the people that we're going to interview, some of them aren't professional musicians, but they still play. Some have other occupations. So the point is that we can continue to just, as a community, plant seeds of hope that being a musician is something that isn't just for middle school, for high school, but can be a lifelong endeavor that you do, and to foster a true love and passion for music in your life, regardless of what career you eventually pursue. So the first in our series today is Shelby Anderson, and we're just going to jump right into the interview we have scheduled with her today, and I know you're going to enjoy it. All right, well, students, this is a pre-recorded session that I'm doing with a good friend of mine. So this is Shelby, and I know, before I knew Shelby, I knew her husband, Desmond Anderson, and Mr. Anderson was a student teacher at Crosby many years ago, so talented, and he's a band director now as well. But he met the love of his life, Shelby, at Morehead State, and so that's how I got to know Shelby. And I also have a special connection because I had the privilege to officiate their wedding. So it was a very special day. And but while we're doing this, students, I've already kind of prefaced you on, but Shelby is the first in our series for these Zoom sessions where I just want to interview musicians from all walks of life and ask some questions. And these are primarily questions that came from your input. So Shelby, why don't you start by just telling us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm a flute teacher in Louisville, and I also perform a little bit in Louisville, and I teach elementary music 3 days a week. So I get to do a little bit of everything throughout the week, which is super awesome. I went to Morehead State for music ed, and that's where I met my husband. And we live here in Louisville. We just bought a house, and we have 2 cats. Grippo and Spinach that we just got. So yeah, I'm a teacher and a flute player, and I love anything to do with those things. So, and I'm super excited to talk about what I've been up to here lately.
Well, we love it. And I know this is probably refreshing for my students because they hear me on camera and I can't really dialogue with them a lot with 60 kids unmuted on a microphone. So we're breaking it up a little bit. So thanks again for doing this. So I've just got 4 questions I ask every guest that we have. But the first is just about how did you begin your musical journey?
Yeah. So I started playing the flute in 5th grade. I knew I wanted to play the flute and refused to consider anything else. I was super sure I wanted to play the flute, and we had an instrument trial day, and I could not make a sound on the flute at all. 0 sound. It was horrible. Every technician that was there was begging me to play the saxophone. My band director was begging me to play the saxophone, which I sounded great on, had no trouble with. But my sister is a clarinet player, and we actually went to college together, and we still play together. And so I had gone to her high school concerts right before doing all this trial stuff, and I just was obsessed with the flute. I thought it was the prettiest instrument, and they get all the solos, they get all the awesome sections of band music. So I wanted to play the flute. I was really determined. So I just did it anyway against all advice. And it took me a month, and then I finally made a sound on the flute. And I still remember the moment that I made a sound on the flute. I was in my bathroom with my mom, staring at the bathroom mirror for hours. And then I finally made this not good sound, but I made a sound. And I've been super obsessed with the flute ever since then, and I had to work really, really hard to kind of catch up to where some other people were. But for me, it was definitely worth it to like push myself, even though it was hard. And I still love the flute just as much as I did the first time I heard it. So my like beginning flute journey is not a pretty one. It wasn't like I made a gorgeous sound on the flute and I was so excited, but yeah, I stuck with it and I continued all the way through high school and into college, and that's how I got here. So yeah.
I think our students will be encouraged by that because
Yeah.
obviously I teach middle school and we know those beginning sounds for beginners are awful to begin with, but the flute was something that kind of progressed and eventually became a passion for you. You always had the passion for music, right? So
Yeah.
that's really cool to see that the flute ended up picking you in a sense. So
Yeah.
love that. And the next question we have is just about like, obviously musicians worldwide, right? Like we all have some type of idol or hero, but what musicians on flute, and it doesn't have to be a flautist, but have inspired you along your journey?
Definitely Emmanuel Pahoud. He's an amazing flute player, and I think every flute player, like at least like college age flute player, is obsessed with him at some point in their life. He plays in the Berlin Philharmonic, and he's just like perfect, just as close to perfect as someone can be. So I love listening to him just to get like the ideal sound of how something is supposed to be. But I also love Lorna McGee. She teaches in Pittsburgh, and she's just, it's a little bit more real. I think there are some mistakes in what she does, and she's not afraid of that. And I got to play in some classes with her, and she's just a very real person, and she's so, so, so nice and so kind. And I think it's really cool when you can listen to an amazing flute player and then meet them and their kindness can translate into how they play. The way she plays matches so well her personality and how kind and genuine she is. So those two for sure I listen to all the time. And Damar McGill is super amazing. He teaches at the Cincinnati Conservatory, and I didn't know that he existed until very recently, but he is amazing, and he's just awesome. He plays in the Seattle Symphony, and his brother is a clarinetist in the, I think, New York Philharmonic, and they're twin brothers, and they're just awesome. So those are a couple of people that I'm super inspired by, and also my own flute teachers who are like normal humans who like takes in lessons and don't seem like so flawless, because I mean, when we listen to videos of people, it's just like so perfect. So I definitely am inspired by my own flute teachers and just their personalities and the way they treat people, I think really matters a lot. And that's kind of inspired how I teach and how I play and all those things. So, yep.
That is really cool. I like that you have the balance of like the near flawlessness of the first flautist you talked of, and then more of a connection to who we are as humans. And like, I think for students to hear, like that's one of my goals as a middle school educator is to get our kids interested not only in like professional sounds, but like following people who love their instrument. And
Yeah.
some of the musicians we follow, they may not specifically only do music. They also can have other careers. So,
Yeah.
but very cool. And then the third question we want to have for you is just what is your current job and are you still performing, which you alluded a little bit to in your intro. So sorry about that. But yeah, just maybe your current job, recapping that and how do you still perform today?
Gotcha. So I teach flute lessons right now, all virtually. Obviously, which is super weird. Normally I teach lessons in our house. So that's one part of my job. And I also teach group flute classes online through Outschool, which is super new for me, but I think it's a really cool way to get to know kids and get to work with kids in a different way. And normally I'm a flute sectional coach in person too. So now kind of exploring virtual ways to do sectionals. And I also teach elementary music 3 days a week. So I think it's really cool that half the week I get to do classroom elementary stuff, and then other half of the week I get to teach the flute and play the flute and work with kids on all kinds of flute stuff online and in person and all of that stuff. So I think that's a really cool thing about doing music with your life. I don't have to pick just one thing and do it every day if I don't want to. I think a lot of people do, but some people, it's great to have like multiple things going at a time, and that really fits my personality. And I play with River City's concert band and Psalm 150 Orchestra at our church in Louisville. And I also play at St. Anne Catholic Church in Cincinnati with one of my really good friends. We lived together at Moorhead for a bunch of years, and so it's really fun to occasionally drive up to Cincinnati and play flute with her. Right now, we're in a pandemic, so not so much of that, but yeah, I think that's one of the really cool things about music stuff too, is just getting to play with your friends. I think that starts in middle school, but if you stick with it, it doesn't really have to ever stop. I still get to play music with my friends and occasionally my husband, so yeah.
That's really cool. And a little plug will also add to the bottom of the video is your website, because you're building a studio here in Louisville, and I would love to get some Crosby flute players with you. So students, be looking for the link at the bottom of this video when it's published. So very cool. Next question we have: what benefits do you feel like have come with being a musician in your life? So obviously a career that's related to what you do, the sectional work, but like just how the arts have maybe richly blessed your life, and just speak to those benefits.
Yeah. So for me, playing the flute in general has brought so much joy to my life. I get to make music with people that I care about, and that's a gift by itself. And I think it's really cool to get to do that as an adult. I think a lot of people picture like you get to be in band in high school and then it's over, but it doesn't have to be over. And I think it's great that I still get to do that. And I really feel like myself when I am holding a flute, there's a flute around, I'm doing something to do with the flute. I really feel confident and joyful about what I'm doing, and it's a big part of who I am as a person. And I wouldn't have that without music at all. And outside of that, I've gotten to do a lot of really cool things because of music. I've played in orchestras and played solo flute music from memory for like hundreds of people, which I never ever thought that I would do. And I'm a really quiet person. I'm just really quiet. I keep to myself, and I'm not someone who would go on stage and ask everyone to look at me. But with music, I get to share something that I really care about with people. So it definitely makes me a more outgoing person. And I've done things that I did not picture that I would do just because of my personality, but music has given me the chance to do super crazy things that I really enjoyed. And I've competed in flute competitions and traveled to different cities and played in master classes and worked with really fancy flute people. And I get to teach kids now everything that I've learned and that I've experienced, and getting to share that with other people is awesome. And I get to try to instill some confidence in students who may not have that confidence yet. And I think that's a really special thing to get to do. And just working with people in the way that we do is really special. And we're part of a really unique community of people when we're musicians and when we're teachers. We have a whole bunch of people who understand who we are. And I don't think everyone gets that. So we are really special to have this community, either in school or out of school. Band people, music people are very unique creatures, and that doesn't stop. So that's always a thing, and we're different, and we're unique, and we all have each other to kind of feel normal with, and I think that's special too.
Most definite. And gosh, it was beautifully said, all the points. And this is going to make a good segue to the last question we have for you to wrap up. But like I heard you say, develop confidence because you're more reserved and shy. And I think that entering sixth graders, you've got those spunky kids, but most I would think come in with that fear, and they're trying to become confident as they find their footing and their place. And music, I think, plays a huge role in that. So the last question we have kind of speaks to our students watching, but what advice would you have in particular for the middle school musician?
I would say to enjoy playing with your friends and to push yourself even when it's uncomfortable or it's not perfect, or you don't feel like you're right with everybody else. I think that's a really good time to push yourself to keep on going. I couldn't make a sound for literally a month, and I kept with it, and now it's a really special part of my life. So I think just pushing yourself even when it's a little uncomfortable is definitely important. And practicing is good. Practicing is good too, for sure. And just not worrying about comparing yourself to other people or other people in your section or people at other schools. Just worrying about where you are and finding joy where you are, and if you need help, to ask for help and to get in lessons or spend more time practicing and do what you need to do so that you feel really confident, even if that looks different than what other people might be doing, for sure.
Absolutely. And to piggyback off what we've already talked about, but our students are learning virtually. So the sense I have of feeling overwhelmed as their band teacher is that more one-on-one aspect that if we were in the class would be much better. So you being a flautist and also offering private lessons, students, that's the biggest piece of encouragement I can give as we are collaborating with local musicians, is to please do that if you can, and your family support that, because it can take you definitely to the next level and not get as frustrated about making sounds, because it takes patience. So, but having someone else to help is always a win. So, well, I can't thank you enough for doing this opportunity for our students, and we wish you the best. And students, be looking for the link below this video so you can reach out to Shelby and ask more questions, and also check out her cool website of resources and videos she has. So speaking of which, we're going to segue to a pre-recorded clip we have of her performing. And Shelby, what piece will you be performing?
I'll be playing the second etude from Ernesto Kohler's Expressive Etudes for the flute.
Awesome. Well, students, you're in for a treat. So let's all virtual applause for Shelby. Thank you. All right. We'll see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.